Welcome. Today's lesson is about properties of quadrilaterals vocabulary. The first one we're going to talk about is parallelogram. And the parallelogram I've drawn here is in purple. It's parallelogram A, B, C, D. For a base, the base of a quadrilateral is the bottom segment. And in parallelograms, we know that opposite sides are congruent and parallel. So this is our base, segment AD. Base angles are the angles that are formed at the endpoints of the base. In this case, the base angle would be angle BAD, that's this one right here, and angle ADC, that's this one right here. As you can see, what appears to be true is that these two angles are supplementary, and indeed that is true. Supplementary means that the measures of the two base angles are supplementary. The sum of those two angles is 180 degrees. Consecutive sides. Consecutive sides means two sides that share a common vertex. Therefore, segments AB and AD are consecutive sides because they share the vertex point A. Segments CD and AD are consecutive sides because they share a vertex point of D. These two sides are consecutive and these two sides are consecutive. Diagonals connect the opposite vertices. So in green here are your diagonals. Midsegment. A midsegment connects the midpoints of opposite sides. In the example I've drawn here, EF is a midsegment. Why? Because E is the midpoint of AB and F is the midpoint of CD. When you connect those two, you get a midsegment. Now, what do we know about midsegments? We already knew by definition that these two lines, BC and AD, are parallel and congruent. But if I connect midpoints to give me a midsegment, then the midsegment is also congruent and parallel to the other bases. So these three lines right here are all congruent and parallel. The next ones are pretty much a review. We have a rectangle. Rectangles are quadrilaterals, parallelograms, in which opposite sides are congruent and parallel, and they form right angles. A square is a type of rectangle, therefore it's a type of parallelogram, it's a type of quadrilateral, in which opposite sides are parallel, and all four sides are congruent. There is a right angle. A rhombus is like a square, except it does not require a right angle. It merely requires that all four sides are congruent. Kite is a quadrilateral in which you have two pairs of consecutive sides that are congruent. So we have a pair of consecutive sides that are congruent here, and a pair of consecutive sides that are congruent here. This is a kite. In a kite, if you connect the diagonals, then they will form perpendiculars. In a trapezoid, it is a quadrilateral in which there is exactly one pair of parallel sides. So if these two sides are parallel and these two are not parallel, that is a trapezoid. A special type of trapezoid is an isosceles trapezoid. It has one pair of parallel lines, and the opposite sides that connect to the parallel lines are congruent, just like in an isosceles triangle. Please go to Edmodo, find lesson 4.10, and complete the check for understanding.